Hey guys, good morning. Good morning. Look at you early birds here. I love this. Absolutely love it. So, what's going on? Let's start this morning off really good. Welcome to Wake Up Wednesday, everybody. We have got a great guest today. Well, all of our guests are great, but I'm super excited about Kendall. Hi, Kendall. Let's just do a couple of updates. Who wants something exciting to share? I hear Steve Barnaby has something exciting. Yeah, come on. You're new to EXP, and what have you got going on today?
I feel like I was set up.
You might have been.
No, I have a closing today, so that's exciting always.
Why is
And
this one important?
my first one with EXP.
Woo! Congratulations. That's
Yeah,
wonderful. So
my sidekick in Annie over there. She's uh keeping me on the straight and narrow.
wonderful. How long have you been at EXP?
Uh, a total of 1 month.
And you have your first closing?
Yeah, we bumped it up so that she closed before the end of the month, so her interest on the loan wouldn't be a big cost.
Great, smart. Well, we're excited. We're so happy to have you here and just keep going. I know Annie is like stoked to have you as a partner. She was telling me that earlier. So fantastic. Well, I want to introduce our guest because this hour is going to be jam-packed. I try to bring as much value to everyone as I possibly can. And I met Kendall, I think about a year ago almost now. And I was like, who is this woman? And I need to know her. So Kendall is she has this energy that when she walks on stage, when she walks into a room, her presence just comes, and it's the type of energy that just wraps your arms. She just wraps her arms around you and you feel so comfortable. And you're like just listening. You know the Schwab commercial when Charles Schwab talks, everybody listens. Well, that's with Kendall. So Kendall, unmute yourself. Come on. You've got a tremendous bio, and I love to have everyone brag about themselves. So, welcome to our Wake Up Wednesday group. We're going on 4 years here. We meet every Wednesday, and guess what? She's got a book. I've got it. Sorry with the blur. She's going to talk about it. So, Kendall, welcome. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Oh, thank you, Peggy. I really appreciate that. It's an honor to be here. And yes, meeting you last year was truly a blessing and getting to spend some time with you at Build at Sea. And I was really grateful for that. Uh, you want me to tell about
I
myself?
want you to brag on yourself. This is your bragging moment.
I have permission to brag.
Your permission to brag a lot because you've got a lot.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind of you, Peggy. Gosh, where to begin? So I'm a Florida licensed attorney. Had since 2003, so that's 23 years. The thing I think I would brag about is I've been married. We just celebrated our 23-year wedding anniversary on Sunday.
Congratulations.
Super proud of us. And we're in that empty nester phase. We have two kids in college, and so that's a win
Yes. Yep.
also. And then I guess as far as professionally, I'm got into real estate 15 years ago. After about 3 years, got recruited to become a broker owner, owned a franchise for almost a decade. Uh, 2020 happened, which if you were in business at that time, you like
Hmm.
might break a little as I bring that year back up because a lot happened that year. But the year after that, I started a real estate team, the Kendall Bonner team with my husband from scratch, started that, built that. Then, about 2 years into the team, we sold the franchise that we had and moved our team to EXP. So I've been
Okay.
at EXP for about 3 years. And then about 2 years ago, Leo Pareja was named CEO. We all were super excited about that, if you recall that time. And I was one of his first hires after he became CEO. So I'm the former, because I have since, I call it retiring. I retired from being the VP of Industry Relations and Strategic Partnerships for EXP. And then I've been just I resigned to write a book. Is actually Build at Sea that inspired this and this feeling and this need to make a greater or bigger or at least different impact than I
Hmm.
have been making in the industry. So the book and all the speaking that I do has been an effort to leave no agent behind. Uh, So
I love that. Well, there's a lot more to Kendall. She's got a deep faith. We were blessed to have her at Cabo with the women's event. And every time I'm in your presence, there's just like you leave little gifts for everyone. And sometimes you don't even know you're getting the gift. And, it will be later that day or the next morning, and you go, oh, wow, Kendall said that, or yeah, I can relate to that. And that is such a blessing to all of us. So, um, I want to jump right in because you've got the motivated mover method. And are you talking about this? What are we talking about today? You got so much.
yeah, so I do have slides that if it's okay with you
Yes.
guys, are you guys okay if I go into presenter mode a little bit and just start kind of teaching you guys some stuff? So the goal here for me is, like I said, I feel like I'm the poster child for how real estate can change your life. And,
Hmm.
I mean, it truly did my whole trajectory. I went down one path thinking, I actually knew I didn't want to be a lawyer. My mom made me do it. She said, JD, MD, PhD, pick one. And so that's how I ended up in law school, met my husband, and then off to the races and ended up becoming an entrepreneur. But I had this amazing experience in real estate. And one of the things that breaks my heart is watching agents struggle. And so, and I think we've all seen it, right? We've
Right.
experienced and we've seen it. And so my aspiration in writing this book and putting together this presentation is to help open people's eyes to through a different and allow you to see our business through a different lens.
Mhm.
So I'm probably going to challenge some of you with how I present this stuff and this material, but I am pretty confident I'm going to probably share something with you that after you hear it, a light bulb's going to go off and you're going to have that moment like, huh, I didn't
Yep.
think like that. But good point, and I hope to change the way you think about your marketing and your lead generation and your lead conversion and your follow-up forever. Okay? Are you guys
Love
open
it.
to that?
I
Beautiful.
think they are. Good.
I'm seeing some head nods, so this is great. Um, let's see, share my screen. So as we go through this, you might have some questions in the chat. I will probably hide some stuff so I don't get distracted and I move through this quickly, but put your questions in chat and as soon as I'm done, I'll come back to answering them just so I don't lose my place with all of this stuff. So as you know, today I am here to tell you or show you how to find and reveal motivated movers. And, honestly, I just want to start by saying thank you. Thank you, Peggy, for inviting me. And thank you to each of you for being here because it's an honor to have someone's time, right? And I do not take it lightly. Each of us have only so many minutes, days, hours, and every minute we have is an opportunity to invest in something, to invest in ourselves and to invest in others. So thank you for investing in yourself by being here for Wake Up Wednesday, but also to thank you for being here with me and allowing me the privilege and the honor of sharing these thoughts and ideas with you.
Love
So
it.
what I'm going to share with you today over the next hour or less is something I wish someone had handed me when I got into real estate. In fact, it took me years and some pain, some trial and error, some exhaustion, right, to figure all of
Mhm.
this out. And then God put it on my heart, like I said last year, to write this book. And I realized I had built my business that and in a way that almost no one's been talking about. And so I wanted to change that. I wanted to expose this strategy because I think it is so powerful. So my goal here for you today is for you to take away a completely different way of seeing your market, right? Today is not about giving you a new script. It's not about some new technology tool or anything like that. What I really want you to be thinking about and focusing on is a new lens, a new filter. And once you see through it, my thought and my expectation is you will not be able to unsee it. And that's going to be a good, powerful thing for you. So before we dive in, I want to ask you guys something in the chat. So I treat these very engaging. So the one thing that does help me is when you're in the chat, if you could give me a 1 in the chat, if this has ever been you or someone you know, right? So get prepared to write in the chat a 1 if it's been you, or 2 if you've never seen this before ever. Have you ever had a slow month in real estate, right? Or a month where you looked at the pipeline and you felt that sinking feeling, right? That, oh shoot, I don't have any pendings, I don't have any any closings, I don't know where my next deal is coming from, right? So
Mhm.
good. People are saying yes. I want you to know that if that's ever been you or someone you know, this is exactly where you want to be right now. I'm going to try to help you fix that today. So
Love
let's
that.
get into this. So let me start here because I think most of us have been misdiagnosing our problem in our industry, right? So that uneven pipeline, that inconsistent pipeline is something that most agents, when they experience that, they think, I don't have enough leads, I need more followers, maybe the market's too competitive. Maybe they're thinking they need more money, right, to spend more money on a budget for lead generation, or maybe they're thinking they need more tools, right? Well, I want to
Mhm.
help think of this from a different perspective with a different diagnosis. I think that the real problem when you're thinking about your inconsistent pipeline, or worse yet, that very exhaustive hustle, is really more of a messaging problem and a filter problem, right? So, and this is why most of us are doing our marketing and we're trying to talk to everyone. And because we're talking to everyone, we're talking to no one.
Hmm.
So we're chasing the wrong things. And so when you're working hard, like the way that you do, it doesn't help if you're maybe perhaps working hard on the wrong thing. So here I want to give you a key to unlock your pipeline. And so I want you to think about this. And so most of us are very reactive in our business. We're waiting for people to raise our hands. And I want to give you a system to find these people ahead of time when their lives are already in motion. So that's what the motivated mover method is. And that's what we're going to talk about and learn about today. So if you look at this left part of the slide, I'm imagining some of this looks familiar. We have, posts on social media, hope someone comments, buy leads, chase people who probably aren't even qualified. We're told to cold call, door knock, snail mail zip codes, right?
Right.
Even better, go to events, right? Hand out business cards. And we're basically waiting for people to raise their hand. Now, on
Exactly.
the right side, this is what I call the motivated mover way. And I want you to imagine this. What if you could stop waiting and instead start watching for signals? What if you could target people whose life is already moving them? Also, imagine leading with empathy and not a sales pitch. Wouldn't that be great? Right?
Mhm.
And what if we could be the agent who shows up first? I want to show you how you can build a system that looks more like that as opposed to just, a habit of lead generation and conversion.
Mm.
So I want to help you fix your pipeline problem, but we're not going to fix it by just generating more leads. We're going to fix it by fixing our messaging, right?
Okay.
So I want to say this to you guys because I believe this to my core. Every real estate action begins with a life event, not a marketing campaign.
Mm.
So I want to also say this. The problem has never been about you or your effort. That slow month, that poor pipeline, right? The empty pipeline. That's never been about you being lazy. I think honestly, most of us were just exhausted. We are exhausted most of the time. We're
Mhm.
busting our tails every single day, right? Just trying to generate that next deal. And like I said earlier, what I hinted at earlier was that I just feel like we're often working hard at the wrong thing. So when you understand that transactions follow life events, your entire approach to prospecting can change. And when you end up stopping the chase and you start focusing on positioning. The other thing you'll stop doing is pitching because now you're focused on paying attention. So I'm coming
Mhm.
back to the chat here. Here's a question I want you to sit with for a second. You have two groups of people in the world, right? People you know and people you don't know yet. Which one is bigger? Let me know in the chat. One for people you know, two for people you don't know. Yes, right? Pretty easy answer. People you don't know is definitely the larger group, right? But this is also because that's your growth market. Now, my next question is, which one should you be prospecting to? Tell me in the chat which one you believe. Okay, one, two, right? The actual answer is both,
Huh.
right? Most agents pick one or the other. And a lot of that times has to do with, the type of business you've been building, right? And
Mhm.
many agents are either sphere-based or they're calling strangers all day. And the reason most agents avoid doing both is because the messaging is typically so different, right? Talking to your sphere versus talking to a stranger, the same script doesn't work for both of them. So your script or your message that you use for one typically doesn't work on the other. Would you guys agree with that? I think that makes sense for many of us. But and the reason why I bring this up is because what I'm going to teach you today actually works for both groups. And that's the power of this framework, especially because many of you are, and most agents are, especially top producers, are sphere-based agents. But here's the truth about that too, right? You cannot stay focused on just the people you know. You have to constantly and consistently bring in new people because your current people, one of a few things is going to happen. Either number one, um, they're going to forget you. They're going to forget you exist, forget your name, forget how to find you. That happens every day in real estate. Number two, they're going to move away, right? So they're going to move out of town and you're going to lose them as a sphere-based client just because they're no longer in your market. Or number three, this is our favorite, they become our partners and colleagues, right? Like they end up
Mhm.
getting in the business with us.
Right.
So, and I don't like to call them competition, they just become our colleagues. And so you have to constantly be replenishing your sphere with people you don't know yet so that you can have a strong enough sphere to keep working. For those of you that are sphere-based agents. So um, both strategies must be your focus, right? Or
Mhm.
groups, I should say. And if you want a pipeline that serves you today, tomorrow, and in the future, this is not optional for you, right? And so the motivated mover method gives you that single strategy that speaks to both groups. Because when you lead with motivation, the approach translates whether they're in your phone already or they are a complete stranger.
Mm.
So let's talk about what is a motivated mover, right? A motivated mover is someone whose current life circumstances are already pushing them toward a real estate decision. So these are people who sometimes they don't even know yet that they're going to be buying or selling real estate soon. But here's the thing. When this event happens, they typically are compelled to buy or sell, right?
Mm.
It leads to a compelled scenario. So, meaning that decision is not necessarily optional for them anymore. So, the reason I say this is because most agents that I watch their marketing, I watch their lead generation, especially on social media, they're thinking, who can I sell to? And I
Mhm.
want you to replace that question with this one. Who already needs to move and why? And that shift sounds small, but it's actually not because it's grounded in something that I believe is the foundation of this whole method. Every real estate transaction starts with a life change, not a listing or your listing, right? Not a marketing event. So let's break this down with three words: curious, compelled, converted. Start with curious. Many of us are frustrated in real estate because we're dealing with the just curious. These are
Mm.
people who are just browsing, they're just watching, there's no real reason for them to move yet. And these are the people that talk to you about interest rates or they disappear after 6 months. And or right, they'll say, I'll list my home when, right? We all know these people. We've all worked with them. The problem is those are the curious people. Those are the people that click on the Zillow ads and the realtor.com ads and click on your social media links because they're curious.
Mhm.
But our job is not to hunt the curious. We want to work with the compelled. And a compelled person is someone where a life event has happened and that decision to buy or sell real estate is no longer an option. They are going to transact over eventually, right? And they probably, if you catch them early enough, haven't called a real estate agent yet because they're in motion because of this motivation. And then there's the converted. Converted people are those that have found an agent who showed up at that right moment. And your job is to find the compelled before they become someone else's converted. So think about what that means. A converted client is someone who's already in motion. They showed up in the market, and the first agent who reached out at that right moment with the right message got that deal. So your goal is to be that agent, right? The one who showed up first during the transition and became and before they became a buyer or a client in their own mind, right? So let's talk about motivation for a moment, because I think this is something we skip over way too quickly in real estate. I remember, I don't know, put a one in the chat or yes or no if you've heard of LP Mama. Basically, if you were a Zillow agent or something along those lines, you've probably heard of LP Mama. LP Mama is a strategy for converting leads online, right? So it's location, price, motivation, uh, agent, money, and appointment, right? And so it's the strategy that you can use to convert people on the phone. Well, here's the thing. Every time, even to this day, when I hear people talk about the M in the LP Mama for motivation, we were taught the script. And you can say yes or no if you agree, because pretty much every time I've ever seen it printed or talked about anywhere, this is how it goes. Do you currently own your home or are you renting? Right? Then it's like, oh, if you're renting, when is your lease up? And that's like almost as far as we go with motivation before we move on to, are you currently working with an agent or not? Right? We never really go deep on the customer's actual motivation. We're just currently looking to see, are you ready to buy or sell? And so
Mhm.
the problem with that is that people take action to avoid pain or to experience a gain. That's it, right? We take action in our businesses to either chase a gain or to avoid a pain. And I learned something from a book called The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. Tell me if you've read that book, if it's a yes or no in the chat, if you're familiar with this book or heard about it. But I love this book, and it has nothing to do with real estate. It's just a great business book. And sorry, I just want to make sure my phone's on Do Not Disturb. And so there's a great story in there where he talks about something called why power. Many of you have probably heard of the term willpower, but
Mhm.
probably have not heard of the term why power. And let me tell you why. Number one, willpower is your ability to do something, right? And I think this is best illustrated as an example. So I like to tell people this story that I got from the book, which is imagine, and I'm going to use Peggy as an example. Peggy, I'm going to put a piece of wood across the ground, and it's flat on the ground. And
Okay.
I'm gonna say, Peggy, walk across this plank, right? This piece of wood for me. And if you do it from, it's only 20 feet long. If you walk from one end to the other end, I'll give you $100. You would say yes, right, Peggy? That's an easy yes, like easy $100. Like, sure, it's doing anything and happy to do it. Right? Yes, it's the Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. He's the former CEO, I believe, of Success Magazine, right? That magazine that we all get every month. So, yes, Darren Hardy wrote The Compound Effect. Great book. If you haven't read it, you should definitely go take a look. So, but Peggy, let's say I take that same plank or piece of wood and I put it across two high-rise buildings and I say, Peggy, if I gave you $100, would you walk across this plank?
Hell
I
no.
Exactly, right? Like, absolutely not. But Peggy, if we put someone on the in the other building who's someone very important to you, a loved one, and their building's on fire, would you walk across that plank to save them?
Hmm.
A
You
hundred
try. Yeah, you do it.
percent, right? And so the reason why this matters is different answer for different scenarios, right?
Hmm.
Um, Willpower never changed in that moment, right? You always had the capacity to get across the plank. What did change was your why power, right? The
Hmm.
why behind what you were doing. So, uh, every client you're going to work with has a why power, right? Just like we do. So there's a reason they need to move. And your job as a motivated mover agent in this case is to find that reason before you ever start talking about a transaction. Because
Hmm.
that motivation is connected to the life event. And that life event is connected to what we're going to talk about next, which is the data Ds. Put them on the chat if you've heard of data Ds before. I'm always curious, like some of this stuff, I'm like, have you heard of this before or not? I love when I can tell people that something they've never heard of before. So
No.
beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So I'm about to blow your mind. So what are the data Ds? Data Ds are 14. I've actually identified 14. I've seen it before, but it's been far fewer. I've been able to identify 14 life events that commonly trigger real estate transactions. So they fall into three categories. Yes, 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 yes. Family and lifestyle, financial and health, and career and opportunity, right? But before I get into them, and I will break down all of the different data Ds, I just want to pause and read something on the screen that's super important to me and matters for all of us professionally. And I want you to know that the motivated mover method is built around serving consumers whose housing needs are changing. It's not intended to target, exclude, steer, or provide different service based on any of the protected classes or characteristics. So
Hmm.
fair housing compliance is not optional, right? Like we have to client, that is part of your license, and it's part of your responsibility as a professional. And more importantly, it's foundational. So I just want to make sure that you guys are crystal clear that nothing I'm teaching you today is intended to uh,
Hmm.
give permission to violate fair housing. So please don't do that. All right.
Thank you.
Yes. But having said that, let's get through these data Ds. So the first category is family and lifestyle, and these are some of the most emotionally charged transactions you'll ever be a part of. So let's walk through a few of them. First one is diapers. A new baby is on the way, right? Family needs more space, a better school district, perhaps a backyard. Their urgency is real, and a lot of times their timeline is crystal clear, right? Maybe they have 9 months to figure it out, or less. Diapers. I mean, sorry, that's diapers. Diamonds. This is an engagement or a marriage, right? When two households are becoming one, typically somebody in that scenario is moving, possibly both people when you have two households come together. Divorce, this is when two households separate, right? This is, sometimes the marital home has to be sold. At a minimum, though, one person is moving, but
Hmm.
potentially up to three transactions from a single divorce, right? The sale of the marital home and the purchase of for each property or each party, sorry. And I do want to remind you that even if the first transaction might be a rental, most homeowners desire to go back to being homeowners. So don't assume that just because they're renting, you don't want to assist them. 12 months from now, that's your pipeline. They're going to probably be ready to purchase again. Uh,
Hmm.
and death. Death is something I personally went through. This is the estate settlement and probate scenario. This is where you have spouses, surviving spouses that need to right size. You might have a family member who inherited property they never lived in and have no idea what to do with. That was me. This is a transaction that, takes is immensely sensitive, right? And so the right agent in a scenario like this can make a profound difference. And then there's downsizing. This is what I also went through this one. I'm currently going through this one. Kids are graduated, they're moving out, the nest is empty.
Yeah.
Or for some people, they're retiring. And these are homeowners often sitting on significant equity and they're ready to just simplify their lives. I know that was me. We moved to the beach just recently because I needed to get out of suburbia. And then there's
Hmm.
graduation season is moving season. There's jobs, first apartments, first homes, a whole wave of transactions happens every spring and summer tied directly to diplomas, for example. Then category two is financial and health pressures, right? So we have debt. These are sometimes house rich, cash strapped, and ready to right size folks. Right? These people are looking for a way out of a very difficult financial situation. Oftentimes, you have default. These are pre foreclosures and notices of default. um, high urgency here, right? And these
Mm.
people need help now, and that window can close very quickly on them. I built my business starting with debt and default, right? And I'll tell you that story in a little bit. And then there's diagnoses. I also dealt with this one. My mother got sick with dementia, right? So this is when there's a healthcare change that forces, sometimes it's accessibility issues, right? They need a 1-story from a 2-story because they can't do stairs anymore, or they need to be closer to family or a care facility. This is definitely one of the most vulnerable moments a family can face. And so being that trusted resource in that moment is, I believe an honor, right? Then you
Right.
have damage. This is, we deal with this a lot in Florida, for example, fire, flood, structural issues, right? Due to weather or just different things. Or basically, the other piece that people don't think about, and this is what I was thinking about originally, was a home that's aged beyond the owner's ability to repair it, right? We
Yeah.
have homeowners who have owned their homes for 30, 40, 50 years and maybe have not made all the necessary repairs and upgrades and updates and maintenance, right? That they should have been making. So maybe they can't replace the roof, they can't replace the AC or remodel the kitchen. And so they're now in a place where they have to move. So otherwise they will lose all of the value of the home as it deteriorates. Then category 3 is career dreams and opportunity. Desk. So this job relocation. Someone accepted a promotion that requires them to move, right, into your market soon. These people are excited and terrified, right? You have dreamers, first time homebuyers or first generation homebuyers, two distinct groups, right? But very different, emotional context for them. But these are people stepping into home ownership for sometimes the very first time. And it's a meaningful transaction for them, as we all know. And then there's discretionary. Discretionary is those, I've been this one too. Second homes, investment properties, vacation rentals. Those are those 1031 exchanges, those Airbnb purchasers. These are opportunity driven buyers who are financially motivated and often, want to do something quick. Then you have duty, military relocation. People, our service members get their PCS orders. And, these are great clients that you can serve year round and they move often, right? I mean, I've seen military families move, every 18 months, right? So the quote at the bottom, though, of this slide says it all. Someone in your phone right now is living one of these data Ds, right? So here they are all in one view. This is an opportunity for you to take a screenshot if you'd like to keep this as a reference. There's 14 data Ds. Some people say there's a 15th one. I joke about it. I'm not really sure. You'd let me know in the chat if you agree. What do you think the 15th one might be? I'm just curious if it comes top of mind to you since you can see them all on the screen. What do you think I missed? If there's one. If you want to unmute, you can, if that's faster than
Yeah,
typing.
just jump in, guys.
Is there anyone that you guys can think of that I might have missed? I'll tell you what it is if you don't have a guess. It's dog.
Oh, dog.
Yeah, some people believe that people will move over their dog. I don't know if I have any dog lovers in this call, but if you are a dog lover, some people will move because of their dog. I don't know if I'm convinced yet that dog is a valid enough reason to move. I mean, it has impacted me too, my dog, but and my ability to move and not move and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. I'm still debating where if I want to add a 15th data D for dogs. But here are 14 reasons real estate transactions happen. And the question I want you to be thinking about right now is who in your database is living one of these right now, right? Who is living a data D? And that becomes your hot list, right? So this is also something I want to share with you because I think this is going to come as a shock to you, maybe. And again, it's going to be one of those aha moments that you're like, never thought about it like that, but that sounds about right. And what I want you to know is this: buyers and sellers do not self-identify as buyers and sellers.
Mm.
Let me say that again for you. Buyers and sellers do not self-identify as buyers and sellers, not until you give them that label. That's why your marketing isn't working, right? You're calling them out as buyers and sellers. So they're ignoring you. They're scrolling right past you because they're not thinking of themselves as buyers and sellers yet, right? Especially when they're in a transition They're not thinking about the transaction, right? So I want to teach you in this training how to focus on the transition, not the transaction. That's the lens shift I want to give you today, right? Because I think we can all agree that if someone is getting divorced, there's a transaction happening. Yes, yes, or yes, right?
Yes.
There is going to be a transaction happening in that. So I want to tell you, here's where I want to tell you my story, right? I started real estate in 2011 and I was swimming in blue ocean and I didn't even know it. That was the crazy part. I had my first two listings within 30 days and my first closing within 90 days, which if you guys all recall, if you've been in business for any amount of time, you know that 2011 was a short sale market where deals were taking 6 to 18 months to close. But my niche at that time was debt and default. And those were the two data Ds I was working. And I was working with people, they were in pre-foreclosure, bankruptcy, short sales, deed in lieu of foreclosure, stuff like that. And I had attorneys and trustees who served them that were referring them to me constantly to get their houses sold, right? This was blue ocean. It was low competition, high urgency, and absolutely repeatable. So what happened to me was someone got in my ear and another colleague, and he said to me, Kendall, if you want to sell more real estate, you need to hire a coach. So I took his advice and I hired Mike Ferry. And if you know anything about Mike Ferry coaching, you know that what I was doing. I now was doing cold calling. I was calling expireds. I was calling for sell by owners. They tried to get me to door knock. I did that a little tiny bit before I was like, not for me. And then of course I was, trying to do the zip code thing, the mailers. But now what happened was I'm suddenly swimming in red ocean, doing exactly what everyone else was doing, right? And I look at the red ocean side of the slide. It's Zillow leads, portal leads, generic Facebook ads, cold calling, door knocking, open houses, right? All high competition, all low conversion, equally exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you look at the blue ocean side, we're dealing with probate filings, pre-foreclosure, family law referrals, right? Life event signals, strategic relationships. These are lower competition, high urgency, repeatable and duplicatable and scalable. This is where motivated movers live. And that's where I want you to be fishing, right? In the blue ocean, not the red ocean. And if you've never heard of that metaphor before, there's a book about it. But basically, just for the brief moment, red ocean is lots of fish in the water, super competitive. It's red because it's bloody. Blue ocean, you're the only fish or very few fish, your top price,
Mm-hmm.
that sort of thing. Very red ocean, right? So I want to teach you guys how to fish differently, right? Because when it comes to finding motivated movers, you do not have to wait for them. You can position yourself where life is already happening. And I want to show you 3 places where the signals live and 4 sources of motivated movers. Would you like to know how to find these people? Give me a
Absolutely.
yes. Is this engaging? Is this meaningful to you guys? I can't see your faces, but I can see the chat actually. So let me know. Is this helping? Is this changing your mindset? Okay, good. Awesome. Yay. I love that. Love that.
I,
Yes.
I keep watching their faces. I go back and forth on my screen.
Yeah.
Everybody is taking notes, Kendall. So this is great.
Oh, good, good, good. That makes me so happy. That's my aspiration for this whole talk is just to change the lens through which you're seeing
Mhm.
business, because I think this is how we prevent agents from having those bad months, by building a strong pipeline. So let's get into we talked about the who, and then now we're in the what. Let's talk about the how, right? So how we find them. So the first place can be public data. Right. So county probate filings, pre-foreclosure records, notice of default filings, divorce court filings, tax delinquency lists, all of those things are typically free or very low cost. And you can find them online, right? I know in Florida, they're publicly accessible, but of course, please check your own state so you can know what's available and where. I obviously don't know every state, but a simple Google search or AI search can probably lead you in the right direction. So speaking of AI, I asked ChatGPT once to tell me how many babies were born, how many people die, how many divorces were filed, and how many foreclosure notices are recorded in Tampa Bay alone every single day. Okay. I wanted to prove a point to you because most people think that when they niche down, they're reducing their opportunities, not increasing them. And so here's what ChatGPT told me. 100 babies are born a day. 95 deaths are recorded a day. 20 divorce filings are recorded per day, and 10 foreclosure notices per day on average in Tampa. Crazy.
Wow.
So the reason I bring this up is because if I was prospecting to families with growing space needs, right, like diapers, for example, and I converted just 1% of them per month, let me just tell you how much business that is. If you haven't already done the math, 100 times 30 days is 3,000. That's 3,000 potential families. Times 1%, that is 30 transactions a month.
It's huge.
Huge, just from diapers. So just like sit with that for a moment. And the reason why I want you to sit with that is because most agents and teams are conservatively converting online leads at 3 to 5%, which means like most people think of online leads as the worst leads out there, right? So I'm asking you to think about just 1%. Honestly, most of us would be happy with just 0.01%, right? Like if you were just closing 3 deals a month, who like that consistency. Tell me yes or yes if that would just be like, yep, I 3 or more, I should say, right? If you could close 3 or more transactions every single month, would that make you happy as a real estate professional? Just tell me yes or no in the chat real quick.
They're all shaking their heads. Yes.
Right? Exactly. So the second place is digital and social media. So people are broadcasting their transitions every single day. And this is the problem though. You're probably scrolling right past them. Because you're waiting for them to self-identify as buyers or sellers. They're not there yet, right? So people are also posting on LinkedIn, job changes, Facebook life event updates like single, engaged, or in a relationship, or having a baby, whatever, right? So there's engagement and pregnancy announcements all happening on social media every single day, right? They're telling you, you now just have to start listening. And then the third place is conversational signals. This is where people are telling you they're getting to a place that might lead to a place where they might have to do real estate transactions, right? So these are your own conversations with people currently in your life that are filled with signals already, right? And they're signals that if you know what to listen for, you can be like, this is a motivated mover. So for example, the last one is graduating this year. I'll soon be, it'll just be me and Bill, right? Another one is my dad is sick and mom is worried how she's going to manage his care. Or if you heard our company just got bought out, I might be transferred next year. Or things are changing for us. I'm not sure we're going to make it. Any mention of a transition is a signal. Now, notice something about all of those. None of those said, I'm going to need to buy or sell real estate. But each one of those statements triggered or said something about an expected life event change, a transition. And it's that transition that's going to ultimately likely lead to an event, right? To a transaction. So the habit that sits at the bottom of the slide is the one I would love for you to adopt immediately, right? Set up a signals note on your phone. Every time you hear one of these signals, log it and review it every Monday morning. That becomes your pipeline in the making, right? Remind you who to talk to. So you're not having random conversations. They're more intentional and proactive. And you're not waiting for people to raise their hand. You're proactively able to reach out to them knowing what's coming next. So here are your 4 sources of motivated movers. So we taught you some signals. Now we're going to teach you some sources. Your first one is, of course, your sphere. Your sphere is obviously not a one-time source. They're living data Ds every single day. You just need to organize them, right? So I would tier your contacts, organize them in 25, top 50, top 75, top 100. Pay attention to the life events happening in each tier. And of course, recognize that 10% of 200 people is 20 potential movers per year just from your sphere alone. You should be converting about 10 to 20%. And then source number 2 is strategic partnerships. This is where I built my blue ocean. This was the because I didn't have AI back then and some of the other tools or social media like we have today. But I made friends with attorneys, trustees, financial planners, and those partnerships, the power in them is what I'm going to call the trust transfer. That was the power of the strategic partnerships. So, for example, we've all heard of the term know, like, and trust, right? Commonly known for people will do business with you if they know, like, and trust you. Well, I think it's actually split. I think they have to trust you first, like you second. Maybe they know you, maybe they don't. I did business with strangers all the time, right? They were hiring me the first time they met me, right? I did it as a bankruptcy attorney and I did it as a listing agent. And why is that? Because there was a trust transfer. I knew how to build trust fast, and I also knew how to maintain it if it was transferred to me from a third party. So when someone you have a relationship with refers a client to you, that client arrives with a level of trust already established, and you don't have to earn it from zero. So that's really, really powerful. What's also great about strategic partnerships like this is these are people that you don't have to pay referral fees to if they're not licensed. This is business that's just relationship based, which is great, right? Who wouldn't love to not have to pay for their leads,
Mm-hmm.
but still be able to get repeat and referral business? And so, how I want you to think about these relationships is this: who is already serving people in transition, right? So, for example, you've got family law attorneys, divorce or divorce attorneys, right? You've got HR relocation coordinators, for example, corporate contacts for desk, senior care advisors for diagnoses and downsizing, or even damage, financial planners for debt, discretionary, also damage. And then one of my favorites that I think no one thinks about are OBGYNs and pediatricians, right?
Yep.
Growing families, right? Now, remember, they're not going to share medical information with you, of course, but as referral partners, they can introduce you to their community, right? And open up spaces for you to be in relationship with people that you commonly serve. And what's the thing I want you to realize about this too is one great partner who refers consistently, they can fill your pipeline better than 6 months of cold outreach could ever do. And then we have a public data list, right? We talked about that already, but basically these are free and low cost. There's also tools like Trust Scout and Reevaluate where they can help you find and organize these leads as well. And the challenge is that almost no one uses these lists or opportunities, which means the competition for these is very low. And then the last one is external networks. Like go be in groups with the same world that the people you want to do business with are in, right? So this is where your data-Ds already congregate. So those are, the thing about those groups though is, of course, be consistent, show up consistently, and then lead with value, not your business card. And I think that when we can be their resource before you're ever their agent, that is the key to success. So focus on the transition, not the transaction, is what I like to remind people here. Now, here's the next piece. This is the third part. This is what we say. So, oh, you guys are asking me in the chat about signals. Okay. So
Yeah.
signals are basically what I was saying before, which is that statement that notification to you that says, hey, I am about to go into a transition, right? So that was that example. And actually, I'll give you some examples here. Well, will there be coming forward? Like, for example, when someone says something like, I think I used the example of my last one just graduated. Bill and I are going to be, by ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
That statement is a signal that I'm about to be an empty nester. I'm about to be thinking about how I want to, maybe, downsize or right size my home. So no, Signals is not, I'm not talking about it as an app. Yes, I think there is an app called Signal. It's ironically like WhatsApp, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm just saying, create a note. What I'm teaching you guys is super simple. Remember I told you earlier, there's no tech or tools I'm
Right.
teaching. This is literally like you pick up your phone, there's a notes app on your phone, and you write on your phone in a note like, Peggy DeLano spoke to her on Monday at, 2 p.m. looks like she's going to be an empty nester soon, right? Or something like that. Or she looks like a motivated mover. I'm going to follow up with her in 1 week, 2 weeks, whatever, right? That's all I meant. So if you keep a list in your phone, those become the people you follow up with every week. They become your priority targets, right? That you'll talk to. Okay, so hopefully I answered that question and created misaligned or avoided any confusion, I should say. So let's talk about message to moment alignment, because this is where a lot of agents lose the deal they never knew they had. When you find a motivated mover, someone who's in the middle of a life event, and most agents will lead with a transaction, right? They say stuff like, "Hey, have you ever thought about selling?" Or "Now's a great time to buy."
Mm-hmm.
And that person's in the middle of a divorce or a grieving parent, or stressing about a relocation timeline. And you're talking about commission rates and market conditions. That's not what they want to hear right now, right? Motivated for marketing works because the message matches their moment. So the goal is not to blast generic real estate content at everyone. The goal is to recognize when someone's housing needs might be changing and offering something useful, something that's timely, and hopefully something that's genuinely helpful. Oftentimes that has nothing to do with real estate. So this is critical to opportunity here about fair housing. Again, alignment does not mean calling out protected characteristics. Like you can't say, "Hey, are you having a baby next year? I want to sell you a real estate transaction," right? We're not allowed to do stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So don't make assumptions. Don't create marketing that suggests a preference, a limitation, or an exclusion. Okay, so this is where AI can go wrong for you. So just make sure you are still the boss of your AI and your marketing, especially as you use these concepts. Speak to the life event, friends, right? Speak to the transition, not to the person's identity. So here's the framework in 4 steps. Okay. First step is there's a life event. What happened? And the question you have to ask is what's happened in their world, right? Then what emotional state? How do they feel about it right now? And then what practical needs do they have? What do they already, or what do they actually need in this moment? And then your message, whatever it is, has to speak to all of that, not your resume, right? So stop leading with, "I sold 25 houses last year," or "I sold 100 houses last year." Like, yes, people do want to work with experts, but most of the time they assume you're good at what you do until you prove them wrong. Okay, that's just a fact. That's why we get appointments, right? They assume we're good at our jobs until we prove them otherwise, or we create doubt in their mind. So here's your 4-part approach. Lead with them, not you. Acknowledge their specific situation. Offer something genuinely useful. And then give one clear, low pressure next step. That's it. That's how you reach out to people, right? Lead with them, acknowledge their moment, give them something useful, and make it easy for them to take one step forward, right? So again, focus on the transition, not the transaction. And I'm going to say that again, because it's probably one of the most important things I'm going to say to you. Focus on the transition, not the transaction. Because if you want the transaction, you have to earn their trust through the transition first. So I'm going to give you one example. I have 3, but we'll just do this one, and then we'll skip. We're almost done, my friends. So let's look at Robert. In this scenario, Robert's life event is he lost his mother, 3 weeks ago. He's been named executor of her estate, and the house she owned for 34 years is a part of that estate, and he has no idea what to do with it, right? What's his emotional state like? He's probably grieving. He's probably super overwhelmed. He's slightly ashamed that he can't focus, right, on making practical decisions yet. And then, of course, he's worried about making mistakes that impact the rest of the family, right? His practical need, he needs someone to explain his options clearly, someone that's not going to rush him and who understands this is more complicated than a normal sale. So if you look at that message that we have, it opens with him, not credentials. It acknowledges the emotional weight, right? Before even mentioning anything practical. And then it offers something useful, just a guide, right? And before it asks for anything else. And the next step that's given is gentle enough that a grieving person doesn't feel cornered. That's what your goal is. So that is, an example of the message to moment match in action, right? And that's the difference between an agent who, will get the business because they were there through the transition, and one who doesn't get the business, who gets ignored because they led with all the wrong things, right? So I had another one here about job relocation, and then another one here about divorce, but you guys get the picture. So in an effort of saving time, because I know we only have a couple minutes, on the left side of the slide is, very generic marketing. Thinking about selling, let's talk. Now's a great time to buy. Interest rates are changing, right? Call me. But I need you to hear this. Every real estate agent in your marketing is posting stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Probably you too, right? But these messages get scrolled past because they speak to no one in particular. Versus look at the right side. If you have a growing household like diapers, if you say something like need more space, here's 5 questions to ask before your next move, or choosing a neighborhood. For separating households, going through a major life transition, here's your home option. Here's what your options look like without pressure. PCS orders just came in, and then of course, ready to stop renting. I want you to see the difference. And the reason why those messages on the left get scrolled past is because they're generic versus the specific ones. When someone reads that, they feel like, oh, that's me. They're talking to me. Like I have disorders, right? And so that is the difference. And that is the change I think your content strategy needs to make, right? Is what is the lens that you're seeing your clients through, and what can they see? How are they seeing you as well? So your social media also, you've been treating it like for you to broadcast, right? You're telling everyone about you, right? You're spending all your time post, which is broadcasting. But really, I want you to see your social media feed now as a life event feed, right? It's signals, right? And most agents are so busy broadcasting about themselves that they completely stop listening to the signals, right? So you have Facebook is giving signals, Instagram is giving signals, LinkedIn is giving signals, et cetera, right? And people are broadcasting these transitions that they're going through every single day. Your job going forward after today is to stop scrolling past their signals and start paying attention, right? So when someone in your network posts about a pregnancy announcement, that's a diaper signal, right? When someone posts about a new job in another city, that's a desk signal, right? When someone posts about asking for contractor recommendations, that might be a damage signal. And you now have the lens, though, that you can use to grow your relationships. You can use this lens now to grow your connections, to establish trust with people long before the transaction even occurs. Now, here's what I want you to remember and maybe even write down. Not all transitions lead to transactions, but all transactions start with a transition. So be there during the transition, so you are more likely to be the first in line for the transaction. That's the blue ocean territory that I'm trying to get you all to be thinking about. So I'm going to leave you with an action plan. And before I give you the action plan, I just want to say this. Before you add anything new to your business, think about what needs to come off your plate. Most of us are paying for tools we're not using, running strategies that stopped working long ago, or you're running strategies that just aren't good for you anymore. They just aren't in alignment. And I want you to know you cannot improve what you are not paying attention to, and you cannot build something new while you're still drowning in what is not working, right? You cannot scale chaos. So before you take action on any of this, do an audit. What can you subtract from your life, your business right now? And what are you doing that is not producing results? Create space. I want you to create space for what you're about to build or what you're about to do next. And then also the order of operations. You got to start with consistent. You have to do the same things over and over again. You cannot skip this. You cannot jump to being good at something before you've shown up for it repeatedly, because success is built on repetition and pattern. And this is where a lot of agents fail, right? Because they skip trying to be consistent, and then they wonder why nothing works. Right? Well, you were never consistent with it. That's why it didn't work. Layer 2 is proficiency, getting proficient. Once you're consistent, you can start to get good at it. This is where skill comes in, right? And that's the definition of proficient, to become good at something. And then efficiency, the definition of that is maximum output with minimum wasted effort. This is the goal that all of us have, right? When our businesses. But you cannot get to efficiency until you start with proficient or consistency and then get proficient. Then you can get efficient. And I have this saying, no agent is left behind when they have a consistent pipeline.
Mm.
So here's your action plan, 5 steps. Step 1, pick some data Ds. I think you should choose something that you have experience with or you're genuinely excited to serve or you can relate to. Think about your own life and what you've been through. And then what drives passion for you, right? And I think the more specific you are, the better. And then 2, map where those people show up, both online and offline. Like, where will you find these people? Where will you be able to connect with them? What events do they attend? What vendors already serve them? And what are the strategic partners you should be building relationships right now in order to, have those mutual clients? And then number 3, create niche marketing or messaging, right? So you want a couple of pieces of content, 1 per data D at a minimum, that speaks to their exact moment, right? Their fear, their next step, and use that message to moment framework, right? Lead with them, not you. And then, of course, step 4, build your system. You got to find them, connect with them, consult them, nurture them, and then deliver on the promise you made to them, right? Deliver on the experience you are committed to giving them. And then finally, document it, right? If it's not in writing, it does not exist. And you
Yep.
can improve what you cannot see. And then 5, be consistent first, right? Consistent, proficient, and efficient in that order. So here's the last thing I want to say to you. It's not a lead, it's a life in motion, right? There are motivated movers out there right now, and their lives are already leading to a move. Your job is to show up first with the right message at the right moment. That is what I hope you learned today. And so with that being said, thank you, thank you, thank you. I genuinely appreciate the opportunity to serve today. Thank you.
Thank you.
New and that's a link to the book. If you want to take a look at the book, you can get it on Kindle Unlimited for free, and also to connect with me. And then I also have started a community on School, so lots of options there if you wanted to go deeper on this. And of course, feel free to reach out to me.
Well, Kendall, this was jam-packed as I knew it would be. It went fast. There are a lot of people that still had questions, but here's the great thing. You can go to Wake Up Wednesday on our YouTube channel and you can watch all of this and you can see the screens again and go through it because it is a roadmap. Absolutely love the book. I can't say enough about it. I think everyone obviously should get a copy. And I love what you said just in the introduction. You're not broken. You're just using the wrong map. And so many of us try so many different things that we just don't know what direction. And you have to be proficient and consistent. There was one thing that I just quickly looked here, and if you can give us a short answer on this, we've had a lot of AI people. So you said the tools you actually need. You need your CRM, transaction management, and an accountability system, which is super important. I think that helps with the consistency. And do we need AI? That was where AI fits into the motivated mover strategy and where it doesn't. So those were just 2 things that jumped out of me from the book. And
Yeah.
I
Oh,
think it
good.
covered a lot of it.
Yeah, I did. And or at least I tried to. But I do see there is an AI question from Brandon in the chat. And so I'm happy to answer that for you. Which AI do I prefer? ChatGPT is having all kinds of issues formulating. I am so sorry that you are having those issues with ChatGPT. I don't have a preference for you. It's just like any other tool. Use the tool that you'll use, right? The tool that you use is the best one. But I will say this, all the AI tools, garbage in, garbage out, right?
Mhm.
So, and I'm not saying you have to be a prompt master. I think they've gotten so much better at how you can engage or your AI. But I always start with, I kind of have a strategy that I start with. And actually, I'm going to be putting this in my community, like teaching people, like, here's the AI prompt I recommend you use, like verbatim, like just copy and paste this in. But it's something along the lines of, I usually just big picture strategy start with do deep research on, X, right? Whatever I want it to do for me, right? So I want to orient my AI, make sure it's thinking about the same things I'm thinking about. So whether you're thinking about marketing or you're thinking about objection handling, it doesn't matter, right? Pick your topic.
Mhm.
First thing I ask my AI to do is do deep research on that, right? So get oriented, get knowledge, go do your homework, go do your fishing, and I let it give it time to do that. Then once it's done its research, I feel like, okay, now I have a primed AI that I can go deeper with on my, next action, which is, and then I start to engage with it. And the one trick that I've learned, if you haven't been doing this, is I literally talk to my AI, whether it's on my phone or computer. I don't type anymore, not if I can help it. I just
Right.
start conversing with it like I'm talking to you right now. And I say, hey, this is what I'm working on. And I just roll. I just start
Mhm.
talking to it. And, and I say, okay, and even if I have to pause, I never stop recording. I just pause and I think, oh yeah, or I fumble through, it's like, oh yeah, scratch that. I don't mean that, I mean this. Like I would just have that very raw conversation with my AI. And then when it outputs, one of the things I started doing was I immediately copy that out and paste it onto a Google Doc, and then I read it. Because when I read it, I want to edit it. Because sometimes it'll give me outputs. I'm like, I agree with that, not that. And so I
Mhm.
edit that, and then I'll throw that back into it with my edits. Like here, now I've reviewed what you said. Here's my edits to it, and here's what I want to add. Here's my next question. Here's my next task, whatever. That strategy has worked really well for me to one, keep my AI like going in the direction I want it to go in, number one. And number two, like us being on the same page and me not constantly feeling like I'm fighting with it. I'm leading it down the path I want it to go. I'm always in charge of my AI. But to answer your question, Brandon, I have a paid ChatGPT account. I also have a paid Claude account, which I love Claude. In the beginning, I used to copy and paste the same prompt into both to see what the outputs were until
Mhm.
I learned which one I like better for certain tasks. So sometimes ChatGPT is really good at strategy, not so great at scripting. Claude is really great at scripting, less like profound for me at strategy, for example, right? So which AI do I prefer? It depends on what I'm doing. But
Mhm.
I've learned to leverage both of them as much as possible based on what activities I'm doing. And then I know there's some people who love Gemini. I have a paid Gemini account too. I don't use that one as much unless I'm doing images or video. I don't use it for like Q&A query like I do with ChatGPT and Claude. So hopefully that answers your question, Brandon.
Thank
Wow.
you,
This is
Kendall. I just want to wish you a happy birthday. I'm not mistaken, your birthday is coming up. He's so much value.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm honored by
Watson.
that. Thank you. Very thoughtful. Yes, my birthday's this weekend. I'll be,
Oh, fantastic.
yeah. I'm like, what?
Well, how old did you say how old?
48. Yes.
Love it. Love it. Well, you guys, again, this is great. Kendall, thank you so much. Please go subscribe to Wake Up Wednesday, watch the recording. It's on YouTube, and get her book. This is really great. So, so proud of you. Love it. Thanks,
Thank you.
guys. I hope
Thank
everyone
you.
has a great week,
Great.
and I'll see you next week. Next week, Nick Krim is going to be back because when I was on stage with him in New Hampshire 2 weeks ago, he rolled out something that's going to blow your mind. So jump on next week again with Nick Krim, and love you guys. Thanks for making it Wake Up Wednesday.
Thank you, Peggy.
Bye,
Thank you,
everybody.
Kendall. Thank
Bye
you,
bye.
Peggy.
You're welcome, Dee Dee.